look, they're still playing fine, and they weren't, any reason that they lost in Edmonton or Calgary, or Vancouver. But, I just don't think that they were playing as well as they were playing earlier in the season. And maybe this was, like I said, a sort of a wake-up call to those guys. Like, hey, let's get it together.
Well, 42 games, this is what we're talking about on Friday, too. I brought up, it's 40 games in now as far as these guys getting their legs, the young kids. I mean, I was having a discussion with my cousin over the weekend at dinner, too, and he kept, emphasizing. It was funny because we were just having, like, the joking aside about, oh, you can't fire Quinn, or even talking about that. And he says, hey, they're the youngest, he's, like, getting angry at me. He says, they're the youngest team in the league, man. He says, you got to give them time and all this other stuff. And
sounds like a smart guy.
Yeah. So we're having really good engagement about that. But losing 3 games there in a row, shaking it up. I guess it doesn't matter. I guess KD. Now the question is, where do we go from here? Our theme, good problem to have, but what's happening now?
Well, yeah, I know. And it's funny. My buddy texted me, you're talking to your cousin. My buddy texted me the other day, or last night. I'm sorry, the other day, last night. And he goes, what are the Rangers going to do? The all-star format with the games now? Lundqvist in the first period, Shesterkin in the second period, and Georgiev in the third period. But, you mentioned Georgiev. I'm sure he was not happy last night. Not only was he not playing, he's in the press box.
Yep.
He showed some emotion the other day, like you mentioned, in that, in a game where he's smacking his stick and whatnot. I'm sure he was throwing hot dogs and stuff in the press box last night about being up there in a suit, because he has, like I said, they haven't, Georgiev and Lundqvist maybe haven't been as good as they've been, but he's still been good. He could still probably be starting for a number of teams in the NHL right now. And he's sitting in the press box last night. So, I talked before about maybe Shesterkin getting a little antsy and angry, maybe going back to Russia. If Georgiev is going to be sitting in the press box, he's going to be asking for a trade, before we know it. I mean, they're going to have to figure this thing out. They're either going to have to talk to Lundqvist about, waiving his no-move clause, which is going to be very difficult. But maybe Lundqvist sees the three-headed monster going on right now, on the team, and he wants nothing to do with that. But if that's not the case, they got to move on from Georgiev, and I think they got to do it quickly.
Yeah, something's got to give here. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we've talked on and on here, but like I said, 42 games into it here. We talked about the importance of this month and next month, and as far as, moving guys, we haven't even touched on the offense here a little bit and the rest of the lines. I wanted to see what you thought about how the rest of the squad played last night. But, one way or the other, whether Hank's happy or not happy, and then Georgiev, and, Shesty played one game. If he plays tomorrow night, if they keep him up here for St. Louis, if he gets in the mix against the Islanders, we have no idea what happens. We obviously haven't seen what it's going to be like for him to be on the bad side of things, because this team is definitely going to lay that out, that potential for him to get blown out one night. I mean, that could happen. I mean, it kind of seemed like Georgie was on that. Outside that early Tampa Bay blowout in the beginning, and then they got blown out by Boston there and stuff. And then they kind of, they were in a good kind of rhythm there, back and forth with wins and losses. And then it kind of fell apart in Edmonton there, and then it continued to fall apart in Calgary, as far as where they were going last night. And now you see the change. And I think that's the big question for me. Why bring Shesty in now? Because of the possibilities of either Georgiev's temperament here. Maybe they're seeing a different side from. That's a totally different side we've never seen from Georgiev before. We love the passion, there's no doubt about it, but that's like the first time he's really lost his composure. We talked about Quinn losing his composure there in the game against Edmonton too. We talked about just the team. The defense has been all over it. So it's just a lot going on here. And now we have to sit back, buckle back into our roller coaster seats here. And now we have to see what's Quinn going to do the next couple of games. And if he does get the starts, or whoever goes in there, if Georgia go back and Hank goes in there, how's the team going to play? How are they going to come out on this weekend? And then the rivalry games against the Islanders coming up, and a badass game against Columbus, who's playing very well too. It's going to be interesting to see. So, they are. It's like a very perplexing kind of situation. I don't think any of us are ready for this, KD, because even though we were talking about this, eventually it was going to happen, I think we all thought we had a little more time before Igor got in the nets last night.
Yeah, I absolutely did not think that they were going to go with like 3 goalie rotation. Like I didn't think that was going to happen. I assumed the trade was going to happen before they decided to do that. But this is the way they've gone. And I don't know how you can call up Shesterkin. He plays his first game again against one of the best offensive teams in the league, wins. Like, how can you sit him the next game? Like, don't you have to come right back with him against New Jersey tomorrow? Like, how can you justify bringing this guy up and then putting him? Where are you putting him? You putting him in the press box tomorrow? Like, let's bring you up so we can put you in the press box. Like, where do they go with this? And do you put Georgiev in the press box 2 games in a row? And then could you ever be putting Lundqvist in the press box? Like, I have no idea.
Quinn's got enough problems to deal with, and he throws himself into this mix.
Where are they? I agree. I don't know how they decide this right now, because I don't see how you could sit Shesterkin right now. You brought him up. You got to play him. This is a rebuild.
And the fans want to see him now, too.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to see him.
100%. I don't see how you can sit him or put him in the press box tomorrow night against New Jersey. You just can't do it.
Good times in Rangerstown, baby. Unbelievable.
But you are right. Could you imagine all the other teams that who would love to have the problem that they have like 3 awesome goalies and don't know what to do with them?
And we've got a couple more. We got a couple more shining stars in the farm system too.
I know, like Toronto just must be like beside themselves.
We're like 5 deep, man. We just need to keep scoring more goals. And speaking of that, how do you think the rest of the squad played last night? As far as lines, what Quinn was running there. Obviously, Strome gets on the board again last night. Mika gets in there. Panarin. Brady Shea, is he back at everybody's good side now? What a blast that was. I raved about, I talked about how I love this core. I think they're going to learn to get better. Obviously, they embarrassed me in terms of Vancouver and Calgary. But Brady gets a blast last night. So let's just talk about the offense here real quick in terms of how they played last night.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we were, complaining that there was really only 2 people scoring on the team, Zibanejad and Panarin. And I think since that show, the secondary scoring has really stepped up, and it's really started with the resurrection of Chris Kreider. He's really stepped up here. I think in the last 14 games, he has 14 points, 7 goals, 7 assists. I mean, this guy's trade value is through the roof right now. Where do you get
this? The resurrection of Chris Kreider.
We're gonna get 2 first-round picks for this guy if he keeps this going at the trade deadline. But no, he's struggled this year. I mean, he has. He struggled to score early. I mean, he had a number of chances. He was just some tough luck. He just couldn't bury the points, the goals. So, I'm excited to see that he sort of bounced back here. I've mentioned it a couple of times this year that it's very similar to what happened with Zuccarello last year, where he struggled early. I think it had a lot to do with the trade rumors that were going on, and him dealing with that, and potentially the end of his Rangers career. And, the Rangers had a little bit of a talk with him, and he turned it around. And maybe that happened with Kreider because he's been noticeably different on the ice, in the scoreboard, and, in the score sheet. So, kudos to him. He's really turned it on here. And, of course, my boy Connor McStrome, continues to chug along, goal and an assist. Doesn't need Panarin's help. But he had another great game, and he's keeping up his end of the bargain as far as the secondary scoring. And what else is new? Brady Shea, gets a goal because, our defensemen who, much maligned and beleaguered, and we sort of, go after him a bunch here, except for you who've been touting them. But offensively, they've really carried the load this year. I mean, it's a big reason why the Rangers have been so good offensively this year is that the defensemen have been really, showing what they have offensively. And what a shot Brady Shea has. I didn't know he had that in him. He absolutely ripped that into the top corner. It's sort of like when Strome let it go the other night as well. I was like, where did that go? What was that, against Toronto, I think? Where did that come from? He needs to use that more often. So, yeah, I mean, I was real encouraged with the offense, against against the Avalanche, and a lot of secondary scoring in there. You just didn't have to, while Panarin and Zibanejad did score, you had other guys contributing as well. So, the offense is going to be there. I'm not worried, and I'm not going to be worried about the offense. It's good enough. Even when the secondary scoring does dry up, you still have guys like Panarin and Zibanejad to carry the load. The problem is, as it's been all year, it's been the defense. But the last 2 games, I've been real encouraged with what I've seen up in Vancouver and now against Colorado. And maybe they've turned a corner here. Maybe it's, they're just finally feeling comfortable in the system or whatever it may be. It's just the kids learning. Yeah, the blue line is young. D'Angelo, Fox, Lindgren, and they're starting to figure it out.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I mean, like I said, we've talked about it. The talent is there on this team. And as far as I was talking about the defense, it can be learned. Up front, all the moving parts can be moved around. We talked about, too, wherever they end up going here with the trades and everything else. But, you sit back and, I was really, again, there's just some nights, especially on the winning side, and especially when they drop a bunch of goals in. And, Grubauer is one of the better goalies in the league right now. That is a well-coached team there in Colorado. They were down 2-0 to him, which is also impressive that they came back. They hung in there with a kid playing his first game at the Garden, place going crazy. So the team rallied around there, and you sit back and you get mad at them, on that West Coast trip, and then you see them come back and do something like this, and you go, man, where is this every night? Why can't they just kind of figure it out as far as special teams and the penalties and the physical play and lining it up together, and I guess somebody just everybody just turns around and says, well, look, this is all part of the rebuild, the young guys getting used to the system. We still don't know what Quinn's system is, but, all these different factors. So it's, I guess, more than anything, KD, it ain't boring, what we're watching here. It's definitely not boring.
No, I mean, look, between, the defense giving up, a ton of shots and the offensive talent, we have, sure, they are an entertaining team. There's no, Tortorella, 2-1 games that we were, so used to where, we'd score 1 goal and sit back in a defensive shell and hope Lundqvist can hang on for dear life for us, So, we just don't have that kind of team anymore. And look, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch the young kids. It's fun to watch, all this offense. And, the lack of defense can be frustrating. But, shootouts are a lot more fun than, 2-1 games or 1-0 games. So, I do enjoy, the scoring and sort of the ups and downs and ebbs and flows of these games, So, yeah, it's like you said, if nothing else, they've definitely been entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. And, hey, we got a great pair of guys kind of join us here on the other side at 9:30. It's, just the whole package here with the Rangers, and I think the 2 guys that we got coming on here, Brendan and Joe from We Bleed Blue, diehards like us. Obviously, they literally wear it and sell it on their sleeve, as we would say. But can't wait to hear what these guys have to say, and we're going to do that on the other side here. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Go Rangers Radio. I got a lot of buttons to press and numbers to do and chords and all that stuff. So hopefully it'll all work out when we come back on the other side. Once again, Go Rangers Radio. We'll take a quick break. Joe and Brendan from WeBleedBlue.com coming up next right here on Go Rangers Radio.
If you bleed red, white, and Rangers blue, hail the king, follow the bread man, and know how to spell Capo Caco, then tune in to Go Rangers Radio. Join your hosts, Kevin DeLury and Paul Cuthbert, every week for their take on the New York Rangers. Live and archive shows are available at GoRangersRadio.com. If you're social, follow at Go Rangers Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go Rangers Radio, where the New York Rangers are always the talk of the town. Got any questions for Paulie and Kevin? Tag us at Go Rangers Radio on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And now, slower than a Ron Duguay forecheck, faster than a John Ogrodnik line change, and unable to guarantee anything like Mark Messier. Here's DeLury and Cuthbert.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Go Rangers Radio right here on the Go Hockey Media Radio Network.